likes to add color and levels. When I direct play, I never like flat. And so I've done this to give you something visually interesting to look at, but none of the artists want to sit on the throne. I don't understand why.
If Thomas was here, I was going to be the one that was made to sit in the middle.
Thank you so much for coming. I just want to introduce the artists to you, let them talk to you a little bit about who they are, why they're doing what they're doing, and then afterwards, please feel free to continue viewing, grab some more sweets if you want, something to drink if you want. Thomas Jennings was supposed to be here. He's having trouble getting away from work. He may walk in at the last minute, but he's our third artist here. We're excited to be able to do this. Finally, after a year and a half, we've been trying to get this place up and running since we first moved here in February of 2018, but something always came up that would shut us down. And of course, everybody knows COVID was the last. So with this opening, we also are hoping to do some children's plays in July. So be on the lookout for that kind of information. But please take these flyers. They're in the windowsills in the cafe area. Pass them out. Put them up in your churches if your churches are meeting in person. But please help us publicize this first opening gallery exhibition that will be running on Saturdays through the month of July. So thank you so much. And now I would like to introduce Laurie Harris, Lauren Lewis, and our third, if he walks in, Thomas Jennings. And why don't you kick us off, Laurie? Lauren, why don't you kick us off?
It's a bit unusual for me to be doing this. I'm used to actually dancing. I teach dance and perform dance quite frequently. So to do this is very different for me. I originally graduated from Dundee a long time ago, and then went up and studied dance afterwards. So most of my art, I don't know how you would describe it, let me just think. I've got a real passion for nature, and I've got a real passion for people engaging with nature, which is why a lot of the stuff that I've got there is to do with trees or things that are around trees. Part of that has actually come from my own mental health and how I dealt with my own mental health issues. I think particularly with all the COVID stuff as well, I think mental health is obviously really, it's a really big thing at the moment as well. And part of that was that I found that for me, spending time in nature, and as I see what God's creation was as a Christian, it helped me to see the bigger perspective of things. I think I always get a little wrapped up in what's going on around me and worry about things that really probably are quite small in the grand scheme of things. And I think when you spend time, particularly I've got an obsession with trees, when you see these big, beautiful, like massive trees that have been there for like hundreds of years, and you think, gosh, if I could see time in that perspective, it would make a big difference as to how I see my own life. And a lot of these things are working towards. I've got it in my heart to eventually do an exhibition that's all about people and their lives, but seeing their lives almost as if your life was a tree. So you go through a process, and you can see some trees, they're very dwarfed, some trees are very tall, and some trees are very different. And through that process, you might see your life and think, gosh, I really wish I could erase that bit, or I wish that I wasn't like that, or I wish that I hadn't done that. But actually, if you were to look at it, if everyone was together as one big forest, it's just this beautiful creation. And if you were to look at your life from that perspective, you see, gosh, actually, my life has got somewhere. And the wonderful thing about trees as well is that things inhabit them. And like I was saying earlier, that you don't always know what influence you've had on someone's life or on anyone else's around you. And I think if everyone could take a step back, they would realise that, okay, yeah, there's lots of things I've done that I've messed up, but actually there's lots of things that I've done that might have actually influenced someone for the better. Trees are this place where animals live and dwell and stuff like that. And there's maybe one little thing that maybe was just, you just said hi to that one person change their day, you know. And so a lot of it's based on that. So although it's all about nature, for me there's always like a deeper spiritual side of it. And I think that that's really what my art's about. It's about showing people like perspective, and that's been a big thing in my life. You know, I used to see myself in such a bad way, but to be able to take a step back and see everything that's happened and see, you know, that there is an end picture, and to you it might not be beautiful, but to other people it is. So that's really what my art's about. I love doing pen and ink, which is why it's on pen and ink. I sometimes do other stuff as well, and I've done performance art as well, but that's basically me as an artist.
Very good.
What was the question? I think what or why do I do what I do? I've always had an interest in drawing, ever since I was a little boy, and I had an endless supply of paper because and card would make things and do things. And then one day I saw the first publication, which was quite an inspiration and quite an influence in comics in this country. Some of you may remember the Eagle comic, and within the Eagle comic there were 4 illustrators that particularly blew me away. One was Frank Hampson, who drew and he created and drew this hero Dundee, pilot of the future. And Dundee, the pilot of the future, actually sent me to art college. And when I got to art college, that was an opening up of a whole creative world, a world that was thrilling and a world that was also mysterious. And again, if you were to ask me, why do I do it? Well, when I was at Gray's in Aberdeen, the middle years of last century, I became aware that there was more to this than just sitting and drawing and going out and editing and gathering the information. There were bits, once you started to gather your information, and I think this is true for all of the arts, you then had to edit it and use this bit, that works, okay, we'll keep this bit, that's not working, that's the wrong colour. And so you're editing, you're adjusting, and you arrive at what is in fact something that you think, yeah, well that works. But why does it work? And that was the thing that began to puzzle me. Yeah, you learn the techniques and you learn the how to apply paint and how to draw and pen and ink and all the rest of it. But there came a point where the thrill of it and the mystery of the whole process, which is as thrilling and exciting now as it was 50, 60 years ago. And it's at one point began to realize, you mentioned in what you were saying, Lauren, about a spiritual dimension. And I think that's where the why began to come in. You would finish a painting. Picasso said, a painting's never finished. You abandon it, and a lot of the stuff on the wall in my pit was stuff that I'd abandoned years ago. I'd even forgotten some of it, half-finished drawings and so on, and then thought, oh, that's not bad. Do something with this. And so I got back into it, and it took me back, actually, to college days when I was sent out to, all sent out to gather information for a booklet. I'm not a painter, by the way. I didn't do painting. I became a graphic designer through the design school, and decided that I was going to change the world of art when I left, and failed miserably, but tramped the streets of London with a portfolio of stuff, and thought, no, this is not for me. So I came back up to Scotland, and back in the days when you could teach uncertificated, I got a job then. I thought, yeah, I'll do teaching. And myself and Meg, my wife, we ended up in a very fortunate position because we were both teaching art, but we were also practicing it at the same time as the years went on. I began to see things that the youngsters were doing, and I would think, that's an interesting way to do that. I wouldn't have thought of that. And you would try it out for yourself. That was another piece of the jigsaw. But it's still, as I say, it was a fortunate position because the fact that you could run two lives in parallel, I think, there was a lot of crossover. I mean, you could see things and think, oh, I could work that with the youngsters. And, you know, you were dealing with people up to going to college, and some of the stuff was incredible. But, you know, you think, I wish I could draw like that. And so that's the background to a lot of what is in there. One of my favorite painters is an American called Ben Shahn. And he once said that any artist will be able to find his subject matter from any kind of subject and make it work. And it's that making the work, I think, that is still so absolutely thrilling. And also looking at the work, it takes you back in time, you know, and in a strange sort of way, past time is still with you. And it's like the one that faces you as you go out. Some of you have heard the story, but it triggers a memory which still makes me laugh and takes you back there. Art has the power of doing that. It has also the power of being a therapy. There is in all of the arts, I think, a therapy for people. That's why it's become such a big thing and is still developing in hospitals. And when my wife is in care, she is in a home. But when she was in hospital being assessed, I was concerned that she would keep drawing, so I took in a sketch book and said to her, you know, Meg, I'm going to do a drawing. I thought, might get me started. So I was drawing away and got the drawing finished the next week, Meg said, "Can you see it?" "Yeah." So I showed her the drawing. She said, "That's not bad." She said, "The head's too big though." So there is a dimension to it that goes far beyond the merely making marks and deciding what you're going to call it. And Brack, who was a great pal of the castle, he said a thing once: "Ask me anything you want about a painting, and I'll be able to tell you, except the bit that matters." I like that. That is something that has remained with me and is still there. And it's very interesting, this whole spiritual dimension comes into it. This is coming into the period in art a lot these days, people questioning it with COVID. And I remembered a book that I'd been sent by a friend in Cambridge, and it was called "I Believe in G-O-D. I believe in good old drawing." And I liked that. And Jerry was asking us to submit was it mission statement, Jerry, or was it artist statement?
Yes.
All the things that make me nervous. Anyway, I did the statement, and at the end I thought, no, why not nail the colours to the mast, or some of them, and mention the book, be introducing, I believe in G-O-D. So I finished it up by saying, I like that title, I believe in G-O-D, and the work on the wall has been produced under the auspices of the other G-O-D, creator one. Ending a mystery. Anyway, thanks for listening. Questions, I'm heavily enjoying.
No, that's what I was going to see, if you have any questions. I don't know what you know about this space, about us, about anything that's going on. I know some of our dear friends, some of you are new faces. I'm a playwright and an actor and a director, and I always tell even my family, if you want to know how I feel and how I think, read my plays. That's what art is for to artists. It is the best way we feel to communicate. It communicates what's in our soul. It communicates those thoughts that are deep within us that sometimes we find words hard to communicate. But the feelings, the emotions, the desire to get that out is still there, and that's why I'm excited to have these artists and Thomas here tonight. Are there any questions you would like to ask of the two artists that we do have here, Laurie and Lauren? Any questions? And please, I'm sorry again that our copier broke right in the middle of copying, so there's only about 10 copies. So if no one has seen Laurie's sheet, please find someone, wave it around. If someone has not seen Lauren or Thomas's, please wave it around so someone else who's not seen it can have a chance to see it. I apologize that it broke and I only got 10 copies made. But any questions for our artists here? Yes.
Lauren, can I just ask you, I think your badger is amazing. Have you actually met a real live badger? Have you seen one in reality?
I haven't actually, no. I've seen lots of videos of them. No, I haven't.
Because you've got such an amazing expression on that one's face.
I think I loved the expression on that one's face because I think it was like it'd been caught in the act of doing something that I don't really know what. It's like, like animals, like they all have their own individual characters, don't they? And like I love animals. Like I probably have seen one at a zoo. Actually, I've seen one at the up at the. They're always really interesting in their own right. And I think each one's got their own character as well. So yeah, I really think it's really important to get that across. Like the squirrels, like I kind of felt like they were emerging. You'd come up from their house. So I think we've got pets at home as well, and like I know each one's got their own character. So I do, yeah, I love getting something a bit more about them rather than just like an animal. Because otherwise they're not alive, are they? I think you need to show that part of it. Is that? Oh,
Yeah, right. You certainly captured the character of that one.
oh thank you. Would you have time to look out for a badger now?
I've got a question. Laurie, you know your picture of the musician just standing entirely on his own with a blue background?
Song. She's got a song. She's got that song.
It's I think it's a trombone or a saxophone. No, it's a trombone.
Saxophone.
The bass.
No, it's not the bass. There was just a man.
Oh, the five of them.
No, he's on his own. Not unless it's not yours.
She's got that song.
Is it the sound?
Oh, the psalm, yes.
What? How did that come about?
That was a concert at Hospital Field. And it was a blues and gospel concert by a person called William Boutte, who's quite well known in the States. And that figure, I was drawing because it was too good a pose to miss. Every time he was waiting for his cue, he would stand behind her and he had the saxophone like that. And he was obviously listening to what was going on, ready to get his spot. And I thought, he's listening, but someone said tonight, do you think he was praying? And I said, I don't know. It was just the way he stood. But it made me think of, actually of a psalm where it talks a lot about stars and sun and the colour of it's the blues. So that's where the whole thing came from. And put it, and it was one I'd done a pencil scratch off, and again I thought, oh, there's something here that maybe it's got something, I'll use this. And that's what turned out.
Great.
Yeah.
I want to know about actually Jerry said you pulled it out of the show. It's the one in front of the church, and it's got the blazing yellow tree. And when I first looked at it, I thought that blaze was almost an angel. It was so beautiful.
Parade.
And I wanted parade.
Oh,
Tell me the story. I want to know how that happened.
well,
Because I may have to have that. Seriously.
that was done outside King's College. We had friends in Cambridge go down often, and it was super, that big blaze of colour. So I started drawing this, and up the road there was a demonstration going on. And it was about, what do we want? What do we want? Bawling and shouting. And then this policeman was walking up and down, and he saw me just going away. So he came over, and I said to him, bet this is one of your most exciting days ever. And he said, how did you guess? Away he walked. Well, there were people from the demonstration moving up and down, and this lady was passing out leaflets, and she said, what are you doing? When someone says that to me, I feel kind of she said, are you interested in animal rights? And I said, yes, I am. and then made the big mistake of saying, but I draw the line when people's jobs and lives are being threatened. She said, well, it's an awful thing that to do to animals. I said, yeah, you know, I'm thinking, that's my drawing finished for today. She then, I said that, and I was feeling myself getting drawn into this conversation that I didn't want to have, my own stupid fault. And she said, I said, that's surely a matter for the police. There's a body down the road. Oh, she said, the police are corrupt. Can't trust them, they can't do anything. So by this time, the body had come up. It was just parading past them. He came over. Oh, what a relief. He came over. He said, how's it going? I said, well, it's going okay. I said, this lady, I think, has something she should tell you. She said, you know, people's lives being threatened because of their jobs is a matter for the police. Yes, so it is, she said. And I also said that the police can't help because she thinks they're corrupt. She took off. So that's the story. We're still. Thank you.
And is that painting not here?
Yes, it's
Oh, it is here.
You've got to have your specs on.
No.
Anyway.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming. Please do not feel you have to leave. You're still open. The artists are still here. Thomas may be able to get off of work and make it in, and you can ask him some questions, but there's still more refreshments if you would like. But thank you so much for coming.